Welcome to the Midwest City Council for the 26th of April, I think it is. Have we advanced to May yet? Could I ask you to stand, and Mr. Sullivan, would you lead us in the invocation, and Ms. Eads, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Would you bow with me, please? Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this glorious, beautiful day that we've enjoyed today, Father, and we give you glory and honor for that. Father, thank you for this council, these men and women, and their service to this community. We thank you so much for their willingness to dedicate their time, and thank you for their families and the way they sacrifice while they're away. Father, I'd ask a measure of your discernment, your wisdom be upon them. They have many decisions before them tonight, and we just ask that you give them peace in those decisions that they make. Father, we'd ask that you protect and those who are serving this community tonight as we have this meeting, both in a public safety way and public works and other ways. Father, just give these folks safety in their work. Father, we thank you for the freedoms we enjoy in this great land, in this great state, in this great city. Father, we thank you so much for men and women who are willing to sacrifice to defend and protect this great nation. Thank you so much for your son Jesus and the freedom we have from sin through his death on the cross. It's in his name I ask all these favors. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we'll go into community-related announcements. Mr. Lyon.
All right, just a couple announcements for the night. The next Cruisin' for Coffee, hosted by the Midwest City Convention and Visitors Bureau, is Saturday, May 21st. All cars and motorcycle enthusiasts are welcome at this free event. Cruisin' for Coffee kicks off at 8 a.m. in the parking lot of Santa Fe Cattle Company at Sooner Town Center. Midwest City residents can end the celebration of Earth Month with a bang by properly disposing of tires, e-waste such as TVs and computers, appliances, metal items, and more for free on April 30th from 8 a.m. to noon at the Charles Johnson Building located at 8726 Southeast 15th Street. On the south end of the building is the Household Hazardous Waste Facility. Please bring proof of citizenship by a city utility bill in Midwest City or either paper or electronic. For a list of acceptable items, go to the MidwestCityOK.org website and view the events page. Also on the community calendar, the First Friday film event is coming up on May 27th. The Papa Nooch Band will provide entertainment until sundown. And then Jurassic Park will be the first film of the season, and this starts at 7 p.m. In Charles Johnson Park at Town Center Plaza. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, Ms. Eads, you have anything?
I do, actually. I wanted to make an announcement. The Oklahoma Bar Association sponsors an annual law day every year, and that's April 28th. And you can submit your questions in advance via email to askalawyer@okbar.org. The Oklahoma Bar Association website also lists further information on that. They're posting, this year's a little confusing because it says they're having it exclusively via social media, but they do list a phone number to call for Oklahoma City and for Tulsa. The phone numbers are 405-493-9131 and 918-551-6022. Law Day is the chance to speak directly to lawyers and get questions answered at zero cost. So if anybody would like to take advantage of that opportunity. And then also, I wanted to mention April 30th is Healthy Kids Day at our Midwest City YMCA, and that's happening from 10 a.m. to noon. They're celebrating the 30th anniversary this year. Healthy Kids Day is a national Y initiative centered on improving the health and well-being for kids and families. So there's going to be healthy activities for the whole family, including a bounce house, local vendors, snacks, games, and a Taekwondo demonstrator. So please mark your calendars for that if you're interested in that one. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Eads. Does anyone else have anything for the good of the order? Any announcements?
Not an announcement, but just an acknowledgement. I just wanted to thank KP Smotherman and her father, Leroy Hopkins, for organizing the Country Girl and Country Boy car show, which took place on April 9th in Ward 5. I also want to thank Joshua Ryan and Grace from the Special Event and Community Development Office for empowering our residents, the Midwest City Police Department, Chief Porter, Major Goforth, and their many incredible officers who stopped by and helped provide public safety services for us, our wonderful city manager and our city attorney for facilitating and making sure the event was able to be implemented. Thank you.
Actually, Mayor, if I could, I apologize. I have two more really quickly.
No
Sorry.
sweat.
The Special Olympics fundraiser is being held at our local Chick-fil-A on 29th Street, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. On Friday, April 28th, and I messed that completely up. Let me try that one more time. It's happening this Thursday, the 28th, and Friday, the 29th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Folks from our Midwest City Police Department will be there for this fundraiser at the Chick-fil-A on 29th Street. So please consider checking that one out. And also, I saw that our Midwest City Tourism Center is having a Travel Oklahoma Day, actually days, plural, Saturday, April 30th and May 1st, and they're going to have events at the Travel and Tourism Center to celebrate National Travel and Tourism Week. So there'll be different representatives out there if you would like to attend that event. It's April 30th, 11 a.m. through and including May 1st at 3 p.m.
All right. Does anyone else have anything? Just a quick announcement. We opened our multi-purpose athletic facility Friday. Had a huge turnout. If you hadn't been out at that facility, you need to go tour it. It's a state-of-the-art facility. We're very proud to have built it, and we had tournaments out there all weekend long, and I hadn't heard anything but good from everybody that participated out there. So staff, thank you for a great job of putting that together, and unfortunately, I bounced the first pitch. Yeah. I don't need any commentary.
I just wanted to make sure people realize what the definition of bounce was.
Well, why don't you define it for me?
From the mound?
Oh, maybe 10.
There's always a comedian in every bunch. And Reed, hush.
Well, for once, I'm gonna let them just take it.
All right, we always have fun at our meetings, ladies and gentlemen. We do have a number of proclamations tonight, so we need to get started. This work this time? All right, great. Sergeant Caruso. Ladies and gentlemen, when we have employees retire from our city, we like to recognize them for their years of hard work and service to our community, and Kyle's one of them. I had the pleasure of working with Kyle for a number of years over at the PD. Unfortunately, he has decided to retire and going to work for the Attorney General's office as an investigator. So you didn't retire.
I didn't. Just went back to work. I had a month off.
You had a month off.
That's it. That was my retirement.
At least you didn't go into politics. Yeah.
No.
Whereas Sergeant Kyle Caruso began his career with the Midwest City Police Department in March of 1997 as a rookie police officer and promoted to police officer in 1998, and again to sergeant in 2001, and is retiring in April of 2022. Whereas Sergeant Caruso has dedicated his career and life to helping others, as seen in the many ways that he has served others while on duty through his volunteer work, such as things at Child Child Safety Seat Checkpoint, Operation Curb ID, and Shop with a Cop. Whereas he is an expert polygraph technician and his work in education with youth has been outstanding, most notably his work with the Midwest City Explorers Post advisor early in his career. Whereas his dedication to the people he protects and serves is evident in many letters of thanks and appreciation from the victims, including homicide investigations which have led to justice being served for the victims in those terrible crimes, ensuring that justice was done for them. Whereas throughout his career, Sergeant Caruso has been the recipient of Meritorious Service Award, Unit Citation, 2 Community Service Awards, and a letter of appreciation from the United States Marine Corps Recruiting Office in Oklahoma City. Therefore, I, Matthew Dukes, Mayor of Midwest City, do hereby proclaim April 26th as Sergeant Kyle Caruso Day in the city of Midwest City, and hereby urge all citizens to show Sergeant Caruso appreciation, which he deserves for his outstanding service to our community. Oh, we got a party trick here.
Good to see you. So from the city, in recognition of, is this on? Yep. In special recognition of Kyle Caruso for loyal and dedicated service to the citizens of the city of Midwest City, Oklahoma, March 6, 1997 through March 16, 2022. So congratulations.
Appreciate
Great
that.
job
Thank you,
for
sir.
us.
Appreciate it. Alrighty. Thank you, guys. Oh, okay.
On behalf of Chief Porter and the men and women of the Midwest City Police Department, I want to hereby present you with this small token of their appreciation to Kyle Caruso. This award is presented in appreciation for your continuous dedication to the goals and objectives of the Midwest City Police Department, March 6, 1997 to March 16, 2022. Congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Alrighty, sir.
Who's accepting the proclamation for fair housing? How are you?
Hello, Lorena, nice to meet you. How are you?
How you doing, ma'am? Whereas April 22nd marks the 54th anniversary of the Fair Housing Act being signed into law on April 11th, 1968, and April has traditionally been designated as National Fair Housing Month in the United States. Whereas Title 10 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, federal housing law, prohibits discrimination in housing and declares a national policy to provide fair housing in the United States. And whereas fair housing means one may freely choose a place to live without regard race, creed, color, religion, national origin, sex, family status, or disability. And whereas the City of Midwest City endeavors to inform and educate citizens of their right to freely choose where they want to live, and where Midwest City is a city committed to equal opportunity and access to housing, therefore, I, Matthew Dukes, Mayor of Midwest City, do hereby proclaim the month of April as Fair Housing Month in Midwest City, and hereby urge all citizens to educate themselves about the rights of fair housing and promote fair housing practices in our community. And I therefore commend the Metropolitan Fair Housing Council and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for their commitment to the public awareness of fair housing and for the assistance they provide to those who have been unfortunate victims of discrimination in housing. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We got to get a party pic here.
Yes. Thank you.
There you go.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here. You bet, buddy. Let's see. We've got a few. Could I ask my firefighter buddies to come down here? Ladies and gentlemen, this is just a small portion of the 85 men that protect our community every day, saving lives, and putting out house fires, and doing everything that they do to protect you. And it's my honor to at least dedicate a day to them. So, whereas International Firefighters Day was created in 1999 following the tragic death of five firefighters in Australia, and is celebrated on May 4th of each year, remembering the dedication, courage, and need for firefighters all around the world. Whereas the IFFD is a time where the world's community can recognize and honor the sacrifices that officers make, or firefighters make, to ensure that their communities and environments are as safe as possible. Whereas our Midwest City firefighters are committed to providing the highest level of public service for our community and residents, protecting lives and property through fire suppression, disaster management, fire prevention, and public education. Whereas they endeavor to mentally and physically prepare to take bold and aggressive action in the execution of their mission, as evidenced by the 8,400 calls of service they responded to in 2021. Therefore, I, Matthew Dukes, Mayor of Midwest City, do hereby proclaim May 4th, 2022 as Firefighter Appreciation Day in the city of Midwest City, and do hereby proclaim or urge everyone to show your appreciation to your local firefighters and learn the ways that you can celebrate our firefighters by visiting www.firefightersday.org. Chief, party trick. I'll just give you that. Thank you guys for coming. Appreciate it. Okay, last one. Paul Streets. This one's yours. Sarah told me to, because you're full of it.
Hey, our compost is too.
That's funny if you know what's in our compost.
Yeah. We have fun most of the time. Whereas the first full week of May has been declared as Annual International Compost Awareness Week. Started by the Compost Research and Education Foundation and is affiliated with the United States Composting Council. Whereas the International Compost Awareness Week is a publicity and education initiative to raise public awareness on why we should all be composting our organics and recycling and using compost. Whereas composting is a way of returning organic resources to the soil in a way of conserving water, an improving method of decreasing the dependence on chemical fertilizers and decreasing erosion. Whereas composting is an effective form of waste reduction, reuse, and recycling, since organic materials make up approximately 30% of the material going to landfills. Composting is becoming one of the primary methods in Oklahoma communities to can reach waste diversion goals. Whereas composting, whew,
You're doing good.
did you write this?
Only some of it.
Whereas composting improves quality of life for our residents, creates green jobs and infrastructure for our cities and states who implemented composting programs. with such materials as yard trimmings, vegetable cuttings, biosolids, food scraps, manures, and hay shavings. I got all that.
I'm impressed.
I should be. Yeah. Whereas Oklahoma communities, through their local governments, public works professionals, and more have a significant impact on clean water, soil, climate change, and landfill diversion by using compost for public works projects. Whereas the city operates a state-of-the-art, we do, state-of-the-art compost facility that makes a premium material using vegetative materials and from our customers and biosolids from our water resources recovery facility. Therefore, I, Matthew Dukes, Mayor of Midwest City, do hereby proclaim May 1st through May 7th as Compost Awareness Week in the city of Midwest City, and do hereby proclaim or urge everybody to please compost. There you go. Good job.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Mayor.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we now go into our consent agenda. These items are placed on the consent agenda so that the council, by unanimous consent, can approve routine agenda items by one motion. If any council member requests to discuss an item, or if unanimous consent is not received, then the items will be removed and heard in regular order. Chair to entertain a motion.
Well,
Hold on just a minute. Go ahead first.
Can we pull item number 6 for possible conflict of interest for
And we-
Midville Group Homes?
and we need to pull number 24 on Scribner error.
I've got a motion to pull item 6 and item 24. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Item 6, Mr. Lyons.
Item 6, discussion and consideration for adoption, including any possible amendment of 1, the proposed 2022 action plan, a part of the 2020 through 2024 consolidated plan and strategy for the use of the 2022 Community Development Block Grant Funds, and 2, authorization of the mayor to submit the approval and/or modification certifications to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and 3, authorization of the mayor and city manager enter into the necessary contracts to implement said program.
Any questions, Mr. Lyon?
No.
Motion to approve.
We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Item 24, Mr. Lyon.
Okay, discussion item number 24, discussion consideration for adoption, including any possible amendment of approving the fee proposal for the multipurpose athletic field complex for Phase 2 parking lot, engineering contract with Guernsey in the amount of $70,500. Mr. Sullivan, if there's any questions. This will add a second parking lot. It will add a maintenance facility or a maintenance barn, and it will add a concession stand. with the
Doesn't the amount have to be amended?
Okay, I don't have that in front of me.
What's the amended amount, Mr. Sullivan?
$85,500.
Hang on, let me get the addendum up.
We made a couple of changes to the scope, Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
which changed the price just a little bit.
Any questions, Mr. Sullivan or Mr. Lyon?
And there's nothing wrong with the contract. It was just that there was a Scribner error in what was announced to the public and what the contract is. So in order to make it right, we just had to pull it to get the correct amount. Correct, Mr. City Attorney?
That is correct, since there is an amendment portion to the notice that was provided pursuant to FOP v. Norman. It can be amended in any way, shape, or form that is necessary at the will of the city council.
Okay, well, I make a motion that we approve it at the amended amount of $85,500.
Second.
I have a properly formed motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. We move into the discussion items of our agenda, ladies and gentlemen. Discussion item number 1, Mr. Lyon.
PC 2107, public hearing with discussion and consideration for adoption, including any possible amendment of a resolution for a special use permit to allow the use of administrative and professional services, retail sales and services, general and medical services, general in the hospitality district for the property described as a part of the northwest quarter of Section 9, Township 11 North, Range 2 West, located at 1732 South Sooner Road. Mr. Harless.
Thank you, Mr. Lyon. This area of request is located off Sooner Road. It's approximately 0.91 acres within the hospitality district that was established with the adoption of the 2010 zoning ordinance and map. The applicant would like to build one building on the lot for the doctor's office and the sale of associated medical services. The applicant has requested the additional uses of administrative and professional office, retail, sales, and services general, but does not have any plans at this time to utilize them. These uses are allowed in the hospitality district with a special use permit. A site plan has been provided and is included with the agenda. Planning Commission recommended approval of this item at the April 5th meeting. Action is the discretion of the council. Be glad to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Harless? Chair to entertain a motion to approve.
Public hearing.
I'm sorry, it is a public hearing, ladies and gentlemen. Does anyone have any issues with this particular item?
Oh, is the address incorrect?
Yeah, the address should be 1716 Sooner Road, South Sooner Road.
1716?
Yes, sir. Is it 16 or 60? 1716. And that was picked up on the property owner to our south. And I mentioned it at Planning Commission, but it didn't get changed. And if you want to verify it, I can.
No, I think we're good.
Okay, that's what my contract calls it, 1716.
Okay, the chair to entertain a motion with the corrected address of 1716 South Cedar Road.
Second.
I've got a properly formed motion and a second. Any further discussion? Thank you for bringing that to our attention, sir, and we're sorry about the error. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Move to discussion item number 2. Mr. Lyon.
PC 2108, public hearing with discussion, consideration, approval, including any possible amendment of a resolution for a special use permit to allow the use of communication services in the I-2 Modern Industrial District for the property described as part of northeast quarter of Section 11, Township 11 North, Range 2 West, located at 8730 Southeast 15th Street. Mr.
Thanks again,
Harless.
Mr. Lyon. This 50-foot by 50-foot parcel is located next to the Public Works building over on 15th Street. The request is for a special use permit to allow for the placement of a 100-foot monopole cell tower. The applicant is applying for the special use permit on behalf of Harmonia Towers for the use of the benefit of AT&T. Staff received an email from Tinker staff on March 30th, 22, stating that the location is not in the approach or departure paths and would not interfere with their operations. Tinker did request the pole be lit. Staff has received an objection from SBA Communications regarding the application. Planning Commission recommended approval, and it's at the discretion of the council. Be glad to answer any questions.
What was the objection?
Go ahead.
The objection was basically, we have a contract with another facility that it appears SBA Communications may have taken over, with a monopole that is near this very site, that in fact currently AT&T is a customer on. And it appears, based on the information that we have received, that AT&T and this current monopole, monopole owner or operator are having some sort of conflict. So AT&T entered into a contract with Harmony to build a tower nearby because AT&T wishes to continue operations there. And so we entered into that, and the city council approved that contract about 3 or 4 months ago, and this is the special use permit to construct that monopole. At the time that we received that objection, I contacted the SBA Global and or SBC Communication, excuse me, and basically told them that this is a disagreement that they're raising between themselves and AT&T, and they need to approach AT&T and resolve that issue since that is their customer. Obviously, they were not able to do that, so Harmony Towers has requested that this continue.
This is a public hearing, I'm sorry.
What kind of position does that put us in?
We're just leasing property, that's all. The only position it puts us in.
This is a public hearing. Does anyone have anything to bring forward to the council about this particular issue?
I have a
Hearing-
question.
Yes, ma'am.
Was there an agreement to light the pole pursuant to Tinker's request? Did the applicant agree to that?
It will be lit, yes.
I'm just here on behalf of Harmony. If there's any questions specific to Harmony, I'm more than happy to answer any questions. And one of the issues that came up was the lighting, and so Harmony has agreed to light it in accordance with what the request is, but to ensure that there's no conflicting FAA requirements. So whatever the requirements are, we'll make sure that that is done properly. One of the other things with the new towers are, included in the new towers are a low-frequency radio that is going to also be utilized and at no cost through a federal grant to provide boosting and enhancement for 911 and other emergency services that is being provided as part of that. And so with the new towers, they're placing that in this monopole that will enhance and provide the free service locally.
One thing we need from you, sir.
The FAA wouldn't agree with the lighting that the base wants?
No,
And
sir.
if that happens, you'll default to what the base wants?
Yes, sir. We just needed to make sure that there wasn't some conflicting FAA, because the only request that came in was that it be lit, which we'll do whatever they requested, so long as there's no conflicting. If there is conflicting, we will work directly with Tinker to make sure that their concerns are adequately addressed with whatever lighting that we have, because one of the questions we had is, well, if it's not on the approach, but you have a light that might look like an approach light, we just need to make sure that it stays clear. So whatever Tinker wants, we will do as long as it's not conflicting. If it is, we'll work it out with Tinker to make sure their concerns are addressed.
Sir, just for the record, I need for you to state your name and address and who you're with. At the microphone.
I am really sorry. I
That's
apologize
all right,
about
that's
that.
all
My
right.
name is Hugh Robert, and I'm an attorney with Sherwood, McCormick, and Robert in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and my client is Harmony.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sorry about that.
Yes, sir, do you have something to say about this? Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name's Steve Ward. I'm with Ward Development, and I'm a consultant for Harmony Tower. And I do have some additional information which we did not have at the time of the Planning Commission. We did receive our FAA determination, and the FAA does not require any lighting. So we'll work with the city and Tinker to see what they want on the tower, and we will provide it.
Well, Mr. City Manager, since this is a city property, and Mr. City Attorney, since this is a city property, we're actually the landowners, correct?
That's correct.
So as a landowner, is this a contract that you want to enter into?
Yes.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve?
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Hold on, just for clarification, they represented that they're agreeing to do the lighting, but do we want to include that as part of our motion? Point of order.
Make a motion to approve with the possibility, working with Mr. Harless and with Tinker, that if it's a requirement for the lighting, that they provide the lighting.
Thank you.
Okay, well, he said that FAA isn't required,
But Tinker
But
is.
Tinker's saying,
Tinker, from Tinker,
to satisfy Tinker's.
To meet the requirements of Tinker.
yes.
Perfect, okay.
Okay, I do have now I have a properly formed motion, and I have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Thanks, Billy.
thank you, Mayor and Council.
Public, let's see,
Number 3.
item number 3, Mr. Lyon.
Public hearing with discussion, consideration, including any amendments of passing a resolution declaring the structures located at 1108 Bell Drive a dilapidated building or buildings as defined under Midwest City Code 9-2, and abatement according to the municipal code, and setting dates to demolish and remove the structures from the site. Mr. Stroud.
Thank you, Mr. Lyon. I'm gonna hand out current pictures. I have current pictures going around. There's not much difference between the ones you see in your agenda packet. The structure was caught on fire on May 10th of 2021, still sitting in the same condition. No permits have been applied for. Property is condemned due to vagrancy from request from the PD. Notices have been sent, and I'm not aware of anybody contacting us. I answer any questions you may have.
So, I got a question. If I was a homeowner, I'd be furious that this sat for almost a year next to my house. Is there anything that we can do with our ordinances with something like this happens again? And I know that we can't make our ordinances stricter than the state's. But is there something that we could do with our ordinance when you have a house that's caught fire and just left like this after 30, 60, 90 days? We could start the blighted process, because that would help the neighborhood, keep the vagrants out, and make everything safer and property values not dive.
So to answer your question, we as a city dropped the ball on that. We fixed that through Mr. Lyon's request. Ordinances have been tweaked. One of the things we had to do, we were tearing them all down under nuisance. We've changed, and our current city attorney has rewritten Chapter 9, and we've remailed notices to all these. We have approximately 30, 35 properties on a list that we will be
So,
bringing.
but what's the length of time now from if a house catches fire, nobody does anything before we can start to take action?
It truly depends on the condition. So state statute allows us to, with so many vacant, or so many open unsecures, so many boarded, so many unboarded, time frame. So I can't give you a bullet statement, because it's different per circumstance. It's literally usually more of a funding and staffing issue than it's gonna be with statutes.
And remember, there is, the homeowner's paying nothing. We have to come up with the money to demolish these and remove them, so.
Can we put the money onto the property itself?
Well, we will. We'll file a lien and put it on the property, but
We probably never get anything out of that, do we?
no.
Rarely. This is a public hearing. Mr. Dimick, you'd signed to,
No, this is the wrong one.
wrong one, sorry. This is a public hearing. Does anyone have anything to bring before the council regarding this particular issue? Hearing or seeing none, chair to entertain a motion.
Move to approve action as proposed, to declare dilapidated and abate accordingly. Demolish and remove the structure.
I have a motion and I have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries.
Don, we can't sue these people for the money that we're out.
The action that is that is stated in state statute is that it will be, a lien will be put on the property. And then once the property is sold, and I can tell you, I've worked 2 or 3 of these, that the property has been sold, and we are requiring that that lien then be satisfied to recoup that money and put it back into the city budget. Could we technically sue them? Potentially. Again, it's a staffing issue, and there's a lot of these out there.
Well, so my thoughts is a long-term thought. He said we have 30 to 35 structures like this. If we started suing people, it would be a risk, and it would take us some time and some money. The word would get out, don't let your properties do this, or the city's gonna hammer you. And I think long-term, we'd have less of these properties if we did that.
That's a policy issue.
That's the
Well,
best answer
I
that
think-
attorney's ever given.
We'll have to get some legal clarification too on, because it's, the
This-
process is a,
Yeah, the process, just so you know, Sean, the process is set by state statute, and the process under state statute is that a lien would be put on the property. So by suing, that means you're going outside that legal process that is set up in Title 11 for these types of procedures. Whether somebody would try to defend an action and saying we're going outside state statute, and how that would work out, I can't predict that one.
Coupled with, Sean, he'd be looking at pursuing people who probably did not have homeowners insurance and do not have the resources to restore the property. So their ability to then in turn
I'm not
pay
worried about
for.
each of these individual people. I think of the long-term message that we send. It's kind of like, I know years ago, I don't know when we're now. Years ago, the city used to settle a lot of small tort items. And then they said, we're just gonna defend all these. And they defended the living crap out of them, and it cost us a lot of money up front. But then some of the attorneys who like to chase those type of clients would quit suing the city of Midwest City because they knew it would be too difficult. And then we wouldn't just write them a check. So I'm thinking long term, not short term.
No, and I understand what you're saying, and I'm saying that the people who would be in that population long-term would be the same folks who do not have the resources to restore the property. So the idea of getting sued is not a real threat because it's not viable to them.
Okay, good discussion. Move on to item number 4. Mr. Lyon.
public hearing with discussion and consideration, including amendments of passing a resolution declaring the structure located at 234 North Blake Drive as a dilapidated building as defined under Midwest City Code 9-2, and abatement according to the municipal code, and setting dates to demolish and remove the structure from the site. Mr. Stroh.
Thank you, Mr. Line. Current pictures are being passed around. They are very much identical to the ones that are in the packet. This house fire was same month, 5/5 of 21. Difference is the owner did apply for a permit in June of 21. The permit was expired in January of 22, and I have letters from CDBG on estimated cost. I have a letter from our chief building official who's gone out, the fire department who's gone out. We've met on site and looked at it. The owner is also here to address you all. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
These pictures that we're looking at have a date on them. This is April 25th, 2022, so those are current pictures as of that day, correct?
That is correct, sir.
This is a public hearing, and Mr. Dimick, this is, you signed up for this. Could you address the council? Please address, state your name and address, please.
James Allen Dimick. The address is 234 North Blake Drive. And I share the inspector's concern about the time. There's been a variety of things that have delayed me. One of them was financing, and I've got that taken care of. I could have be ready for framing inspection in less than 2 weeks. I sold another property finally, but I've been waiting for, I was told I could possibly get some financing through the city, and the inspectors were saying it was gonna take $77,000 was their estimate to redo the house. I have a construction estimating certificate from Oklahoma State University, and my material estimates were at $7,000. It may take a bit more than that, but I have more than that in my pocket as we speak. I want to that's my family home. That's where I want to live. I've been a member, I grew up here in Midwest City. We moved here in 1963. I've always considered this home even when I lived in other states. if I can get an extension on this, I didn't realize the permit had expired, but I would really want to move forward. There's 16 foot of exterior wall that needs to be replaced. I worked 30 years in the carpenters union. I see that as fairly simple, something I can take care of. I've got volunteers to help me. If I could have a little bit of an extension on time, I can make this happen. You know, we were supposed to have a meeting in January, and I came down with COVID mid-January, and the end of January, I ended up in the hospital, 3 days in a coma, and 10 days overall. But as I stand before you, I'm healthier now than I've been in probably 20 years. I am capable of getting this done. Like I say, I've got a large check in my pocket that will cover far more than what my estimates are that it will take to restore the house. Mid-January, I'd had a 30-yard dumpster and filled that, and was able to demolish some of the sheetrock so I could find out more of the damage.
So let me ask you a question. From May 5th to mid-January, you left everything in there and you didn't pull it out? And your neighbors had to put up with that for 8 months?
Yes, sir. I was looking for financing, and
I have remodeled houses where to get the trash out didn't cost that much. You get a dumpster rolled back, you throw it out yourself. You went 8 months and your neighbors had to live next to that. It's
And
not fair to them.
I do regret that, but I'm on a fixed income. I've retired on disability, which my abilities are much better now than when I retired.
I can appreciate all that, but I can also, your neighbors didn't deserve that house sitting there for 8 months while you didn't do anything.
And I do regret that, but I can make it happen now. I've got the financing that I need to proceed forward, and I can have this completed in reasonable fashion. Otherwise, I'll be homeless without that.
Well, you're homeless without that now. You can't live in that.
And I don't intend to. I want to have it repaired before I move back in. It's going to be better than it was.
I think what you put your neighbors through for almost a year was unconscionable.
I do regret it. I agree with you on that.
And I'm going to make a motion to approve this like it sets to demolish it because of your inaction for your neighbors for almost a year.
Okay. I've been, like I said, I was held up waiting for financing, and I've got that in.
You could have, for a couple $100, had a roll-up truck put back there. You could have been taking dump loads of from your pickup truck to the dump. You could have been making 8 months' worth of efforts, and you didn't.
I do regret that more hadn't happened, but I can make that happen now.
I do have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Can we have some more discussion before we go any farther on the motion?
Sure.
You made a statement a few minutes ago that alarmed me from the very beginning. And you said your name and you said your address, and you said you were living at 234 on Blake.
That's where I received my mail. That's not where I'm living.
But it also says in this report that the police found you living in that house in March.
I slept there for a couple of nights, and that didn't work for me. I'm not living in. I'm currently living in a motel. I'm not living in that. I agree that that's not appropriate. The utilities have been shut off, et cetera. That's not a living situation.
I'm not a builder and I'm not a construction worker, but looking at those pictures, I would suspect that more than one wall, you said something about one exterior wall needed to be fixed. You look at the rafters, some of the rafters are burnt. There's other parts of the inside of that building, that house, that are damaged from the fire.
Yes,
So
sir.
I mean, realistically, the whole inside of that house is gonna have to be, if we delayed it, the whole inside of that house would have to be reframed.
And then 2 inches of water poured into it this last week.
So I'm thinking, I just, I want to give you the benefit of the doubt, but, looking at those pictures, it concerns me that you could actually get it fixed in a reasonable time.
The fire started on the back porch, and the structural damage to the studs is limited to that kitchen wall. there are, I say, on the walls, there's a little bit of damage to the rafter tails, and there's some ceiling joists that have been burned through. In my favor, it's a stick frame house rather than a truss roofing, which means, a truss is an engineered product, and it would require the whole replacement of the truss. I can replace those rafters as is, and replace the decking on the roof, what little bits, it's mostly just the, near the rafter tails where it burned up the wall. I guess the firemen may have left, but, they did a super good job of getting it knocked down. I really appreciate that, but, and I do agree with Mr. Reed. I'm not happy with that it's taken this long, but like I say, I've got a check in my pocket, the financing is here. I can make this happen, and like I said, the framing will be done within 2 weeks.
The whole inside framing of the house,
Yes, sir.
taking out the bad wood and replacing it.
Yes, sir. The inside the house, there's just a few ceiling joists where the fire got up in the attic. But the interior walls are all cherry. They're in good shape. The sheetrock is off of them while we had the dumpster. Some of my volunteers took down more than I expected, but the substantial part of the damage to the exterior walls was just along that kitchen wall. There's 16 feet of exterior wall that I've got to replace. And my experience, I did 30 years in the carpenters, 4 years of college to back that up, 3 years of VOTEC in high school. But
Well, that one picture that's up there on the left,
Shows the roof gone.
I mean, the part of the roof is gone.
that's
And-
where the firemen cut an access, and it,
Okay, but the part of the roof is gone, and then if you look below where the roof is gone, looks like a kind of a doorway or something, and that wood is burnt. And I can't imagine correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Straw, I know you're not a building inspector, but before they could put sheetrock up, they'd have to go through and look at the framing, right?
yeah.
And
I would-
I can't see, I'd like to give you the benefit of the doubt, because I certainly don't want to make you homeless, but my God, I don't know if that's, other than just taking it to the ground, it's livable again.
It's my opinion that it's quite fixable. I specialized in doing challenging projects as a carpenter. I worked, like I say, I worked with Carl Landers, was a retired police officer here at Midwest City. We went through our apprenticeship together, but the damage to the actual structure, granted, there's some ceiling joists that need to be replaced, but that's not that big a thing because it's a stick frame house rather than a truss. If it's a truss, I'd agree with you to donate it to the fire department for a fire drill and
Mr.
start
Stroh,
over.
you've been in that house, and I'm gonna ask you for your opinion. Can that be salvaged
Well, anything can be salvaged, it's just how much you're gonna spend.
in a reasonable time?
I have not been in the structure, I've been on the outside of the structure, so all I can go by is the reports that I have from our city inspectors that have been in it. I have a report from the fire marshal that I find very interesting, and this report is dated 4/5 of this year. And the last statement in his report says, "The owner admitted to cutting out some of the burned trusses in the living room area." But yet the owner stands in front of you saying there is no trusses. Again, I haven't been in, I don't know. The other is I have a report from the chief building official who says that the structure is in worse condition right now than it was on the day of the fire due to the water damage and all the stuff that's happened. I have a report from our rehab specialist with CDBG that says material cost, not material cost, what he said, but all costs was $70,000. He's given an update due to the cost of material and inflation and things going on right now, and his cost is at 80-some thousand. The Oklahoma County assessor's tax on the property because of the condition of the house was $17,000 value this last year. So my personal opinion is it doesn't justify the means, but it's not my money to put in it. My other concern is I have open notices for nuisance code violations that we have done nothing with because I wasn't gonna pay a contractor to go clean it up when I know I've got a bulldozer coming and I can clean it up for a whole lot cheaper at that means. So I have other notices with other violations that whether he's working on the structure or not, then I'm gonna be coming over and cleaning up as well. So I just want everybody to be all on the same page as where we're going.
I have a question for you, sir.
Yes.
I'm curious about a couple of things. You said that you had another property and you sold that property recently.
Yes.
Okay. So it begs the question for me why you did not sell that property closer to the time of the fire to try to restore this property?
That is a good question, and the reason I didn't is I thought I was gonna be able to get enough financing to cover my materials from the city. And as that kept dragging out, and the meeting with the inspectors didn't happen until just a few weeks ago. The other property, you know, I won't say I had a tenant, I had an occupant in it. And, anyway, for me, selling that property just to be rid of her was a benefit. But, anyway, that is where I'm at on that. I did sell that property. I was expecting financing from the city, et cetera. And, when I recognized that was gonna be a challenge and time was getting away from me, I did put it up for sale and did close.
Okay, my other question is, have you reached out to any organizations for assistance? I mean, Habitat for Humanity, trying to get assistance through them? I mean,
Yes, ma'am.
you've got a structure, you've got a lot, like, have you talked to any such organizations?
Absolutely. I've actually done volunteer work through the Carpenters Union for Habitat and some of the others. But Habitat will not do anything to assist fire damage. That wasn't available, and that was I did get some help from the Mennonite Church. But at this point, I'm ready to proceed. You know, like I said, I've got the check in the pocket that I can restore this. There was something brought up about the difference between a truss and a stick framing. And the stick framing doesn't require an engineer's report to repair. And I did cut out some of the burnt ceiling joists.
Okay, now, stay with me though here.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
So, with regard to Habitat, for example, type of thing, they won't deal with burnt structures. But if the city were to demolish this house as it sits now, and you had the lot, granted, there would be a lien, as the city attorney was discussing, assessed against it for demolishing the house and cleaning up the lot. But you would have a lot that you still owned.
Yes.
It would still be in your name. Have you talked with Habitat about that option of, if you had a lot, could they work with you to get a Habitat house put together? And
To be honest, I haven't. Like I said, I've got a sizable check over 40,000 in my pocket, and I would probably want to get permits and build probably metal stud framing instead of wood. But that is something I would consider rebuilding. And I did get another resource, or learned of another resource through HUD, I believe. I've got that in my notes, but that might be a possibility. As it stands right now, you know, got
Mr.
my own
Mayor's-
financing and looking at moving forward with that.
Just real quick, even if we were to say that we were going to demolish this home, according to the resolution, it says the property owner must begin to repair or demolish and remove the structure from the site located at 234 North Blake Drive within 10 days of the date of this resolution and have the repairs or demolition completed within 30 days of the date of the resolution. So even if we were to pass it right now, he's got 10 days to start any repairs and 30 days to complete. Is that correct? City Attorney Don, can you?
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
Is there a motion still on the floor?
There is.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Sorry, Jim.
Hey, Matt. She abstained.
I'm sorry?
Okay. I can do that.
Okay, we do have an abstention. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to discussion item number 5. Mr. Lyons.
Discussion, consideration of adoption, including any possible amendment to rejecting the bids received for the construction of the Joe B. Barnes Regional Park pedestrian bridge. Mr. Bundy.
Thank you, Mr. Lyon. On April 12th, we opened bids for the Joe B. Barnes Bridge replacement, and they came in well over what our budgeted amount was. So,
Does anyone have any questions? That's admirable that you come
occasionally
forward
get them
and
wrong.
ask us not to approve something.
So,
I think that's a first, isn't it, Mr. Bundy?
No, well, it happens so rare you don't remember.
well, but I do have a question for you.
Got that right.
It's about $67,000, the lowest bid over what the engineer's estimate was. With supply line issues, inflation, and everything else, would this not be our best opportunity to take this? Because 5 months, 5 years, whatever, it's gonna be a lot more expensive. And if this is something that we have as a project, and I don't wanna put any issues on the budget, but
Well,
this might be
there is no
our-
budget, just FYI. I mean, it's
this-
not.
If we have it, this might be a do it now or never do it.
So what we do when something comes in so far over budget is we do look into why it was over budget.
When was the engineering's estimate done, and when did the Central Bridge Company?
It was within about a month or two of each other. And
But when? Like,
March.
okay.
So one of the things that supports us rejecting the bid is we're resurfacing Reno Avenue, and that includes a pedestrian bridge, and so we use some of those prices, and that was bid 2 months prior. And yes, I understand supply chain and inflation factors, but this was so out of whack that there's something at issue with this specific project.
So we'll evaluate that. We'll check with the company that won the bid for within the engineer's estimate, see why they didn't bid, and maybe go back out for bid. But there's no requirement the bridge be replaced. I mean, it's getting to an age that we'd like to replace it, but it is not required. There's no, it's not decayed to a point. I'm sure that's true.
And normally I would agree with you 100% because things are only going to go up. But I feel like maybe it's a timing issue, or maybe it was something in the plans that we didn't see.
I'm gonna move to approve this item.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Mr. Bundy, we will make note of this. Item number 6, Mr. Lyons.
Discussion, consideration, and possible action, including any possible amendment on an ordinance amending the Midwest City Municipal Code, Chapter 33, Pensions and Retirement, Article 2, General Employee Retirement System, Section 33-14, System Adopted, 33-16, and Fund 3317 Appropriations, and 3318 Implementation of Systems and Execution, providing for repeal or severability. This item includes Exhibit A and B as referenced in the amendments. Mr. Bradley handled this, and we have Jody Cox from the Oklahoma Municipal Retirement Fund here to help explain as well. Mr. Bradley.
Honorable Mayor and Council, it's good to be with you all today. As you may know, the non-pension employees have a retirement fund for Midwest City with the Oklahoma Municipal Retirement Fund, or OKMRF. Jody Cox is here with us today. She's the CEO of OKMRF. We every 6 years we have the IRS requires the plan to be updated, and that is what's before you today, is the updated plan and then the joinder agreement to enter into the or basically to move forward as we have been going through the OKMRF for the retirement fund. Ms. Cox, I'd like to invite her up. She has a presentation as a summary and kind of a recap of what they do, and we can answer any questions.
Thank you, Troy. Make it a little shorter. Good evening. My name is Jody Cox. I'm the Executive Director of the Oklahoma Municipal Retirement Fund. Thank you for having me here tonight. It's been a while since I've been before you, so it's always good to see you guys. I will tell you a little bit about OMRF and myself. I've worked with OMRF now for about 26 years. Prior to that, I was their external auditor, and back in the day, years ago, I actually audited the city of Midwest City, so a little brief history on that.
Did we pass?
And you passed with flying colors.
All right.
So we were formed in 1966, so 56 years ago. We had 24 cities join us at that time, and I'm pleased to say that Midwest City is a charter member. You have been with us the entire time. We are a nonprofit group. I think that is so important as council individuals to know that we do not charge any extra fees. We cut the broker-dealer completely out of the middle. We were formed for the sole purpose to offer general employees a retirement system across the state of Oklahoma. We're very proud of that. We have a 9-member board of trustees, very similar to yourselves, that they're the decision makers. They're actually elected across the state. It's open to any city manager, HR director, finance director, et cetera, or HR director that would like to run for our board. We had Tommy Melton on our board for 20 plus years, and he served as our chair, and I knew Tommy very well. So just knowing that, on the right-hand side of your packet, just a brief, these are the roles and fiduciary duties that our trustees take on for you guys. And that's important because that way you do not have to take on that trustee fiduciary role. Our board does that for you. And one of their duties is to make sure that the plan stays in compliance with the IRS. And that's why I'm here tonight, because it's a housekeeping item in and of itself, because every 6 years we do have to go to the IRS with our new master plan document and joinder agreement. And a lot of things happen in 6 years with the IRS, and there's requirements that we have to get into the plan document. So on the left-hand side of your packet, if you wanted to review it, it will show you the current version of what was existing prior to this proposed, and the newly appointed or newly approved version, and the verbiage that we had to change to keep your plan in compliance. It is very important that we do that. We want to maintain a qualified plan on behalf of your employees, and we've received a determination letter from the IRS stating that we did a good job and our plan is in compliance with everything we need to. And now all of our member cities across the state, and you guys being one of them, we have 105 defined contribution plan member cities. We have 132 defined benefit cities, but it's your turn to adopt the master plan documents. So we have about 73% of our cities and towns that have already approved it, and I'm here tonight to present this to you and ask that you approve the restated plan document to keep your plan in compliance. Do you have any questions for me?
I actually have a question for our
Sure.
city attorney or city manager or our HR person. I am a tax accountant, but I am not qualified to know
Yes.
about this stuff. Are you guys comfortable, you brought it to us because they have to, are you guys comfortable with us approving this the way it is?
Yes.
I can tell
Troy.
you that the way this is done, and if you notice, it's city ordinance amendments, that we adopted this plan back in the 80s as city ordinance, and most of the language remains the same as it has been through today. So for a good 30, 35 years, the language has been basically the same. There's a few minor changes here and there. So with that, yes, I feel very comfortable in approving this.
And if you would, if you don't mind, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Others, we see no issues in improving it. We support approving the.
I mean, I'm not meaning to
Sure.
degrade any of us, but none of us are qualified.
Right.
to do this and nobody is.
We have a tax attorney that works for us with McAfee and Taft, and he's the one that drafted the letter, and he helps OMRF keep the plan in accordance with the IRS requirements. But I appreciate that question.
We had a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Thank you, Jody.
Thank
for
you.
being
Have a
here.
good evening,
Appreciate it.
everybody.
Thanks, Jody.
Thank you again for your work.
You're welcome.
Item number 7, Mr. Lyons.
Discussion consideration for adoption, including any amendments of 2 ordinances. 1, amending the Midwest City Municipal Code, Chapter 15, Fire Protection and Prevention, Article 3, Fire Codes and Standards, Division 2, Fire Prevention Codes, Section 15-56, Permits and Fees, and 2, amending the Midwest City Municipal Code, Chapter 38, Subdivision Regulations, Article 1, General Provisions, Section 38-6, Compliance with City Plans and Ordinances, and each amendment providing for repealer and severability. Mr. Meisch.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you. It was brought to the attention of the city that we have a conflict in our city ordinances. So I will tell you right now, because of that conflict, this ordinance change was not brought before the Ordinance Review Committee. It was determined that since we have that conflict, that it needed to be brought straight to the city council. Our subdivision regulation, let me back up. This issue deals with how many access points you need in and out of a subdivision for requirements of fire prevention and firefighting. Under our city subdivision requirements, every subdivision that has 50 homes or more must have 2 ingress and egress access points. Under an interpretation of the International Fire Code that the city of Midwest City, as well as many other cities, have adopted, that number is 30. You must have, any residential subdivision that has 30 homes or more must have 2 ingress and egress points. When this issue was brought to our attention, did a little bit of checking in and research, basically looked at what is Oklahoma City doing? The easy way, and Oklahoma City's is set at 50. So we determined, to then set ours at 50. So what the ordinance change does is within those areas in Chapter 15 that adopt the International Fire Code is to make a specific exception to that interpretation that it could be 30 and setting it at 50. And then we recognize that exception within Chapter 38 of our city ordinances. That's basically what the change is, and I'd be happy to attempt to answer any questions.
Going a little bit outside of the International Fire Code does not put our ISO 1 rate in jeopardy.
To my knowledge, no.
Bert? No.
Mr. Lyons, you, in the reading of it, you talked about the permits and fees. Just want to make it perfectly clear, we are not messing with the permits or fees.
No.
Correct?
No.
We've been down that road before.
Right. We're not changing any permits or fees. We just have a conflict within the ordinance. We've been applying the 50 house subdivision rule in this city for many, many, many years, and we didn't feel like this is we didn't feel like we needed to change this. We needed to stay with the 50. We're not having any issues with the 50 in the city.
Any further questions or discussions?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion and I have a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Meach. Discussion number 8. Mr.
Discussion
Knight.
and consideration, including amendment of appointing one council member, replacing Christine Allen as the 3rd alternate delegate to the ACOG board and committees, which include the ACOG Board of Directors, 911 ACOG Board of Directors, and the Intermodal Transportation Policy Committee, the Garber-Wellington Association Policy Committee, and the Central Oklahoma Regional Transit Authority Task Force.
Ladies and gentlemen of the council, it's my recommendation. We recommend that Mr. Favors take over that position, and I explained the responsibilities to Mr. Favors, and very unlikely that he'll ever have to attend a meeting. I don't miss many, and the ones I do, Pat takes up the slack. So.
First one's next Thursday.
Let me pull that
Yeah.
back.
Yeah,
I want
exactly.
Reed to do it.
Motion to approve Rick Favors for those committees.
I've got a motion and I got a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention, motion carries.
Abstention.
Next item.
No. You step down and step back.
Next item, Mr. Lyon.
Number 9, discussion and consideration, including amendment of appointing a council member to the Sidewalk Committee, replacing Espinoa Bowen.
How about we keep it within Ward 3 and make poor Megan
Second.
say yes?
Well, you jumped ahead once again, but yes, I would concur, Mr. Reed, that we,
There's a motion and a second.
I recommend that Ms. Bain take that position.
Well, so do we. It's yours. We have to vote first.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion?
Yeah, Sean did,
Can I have a second?
right here.
All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Next item, item number 10, there's no action needed on that particular item.
On the sidewalk, on the capital improvements?
Yeah, that's a defunct committee.
I like this one.
That was for the bond, yeah, I don't, that
Ladies and gentlemen,
inadvertently
move
got put
into
on
new
there.
business public discussion. Does anyone have anything to bring before the council? Hearing or seeing none, there is an executive session attached to this agenda. Mr. Lyons, please read it.
Discussion consideration of one, entering to executive session is allowed under 25 OS 307B3, discuss the purchase of appraisal of real property, and two, an open session authorizing the general manager, administrator, under this one, it'd be the city manager, to take action as appropriate based on discussion in executive session.
Motion to move into executive session.
Now, we'll,
We're gonna recess
We're
first?
going to
Okay.
recess. The chair would entertain a motion to recess. Do I have a second?
yeah. That's right, you're gonna cost me breakfast if we're not careful here.
I have a motion second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. We are hereby recessed from the Midwest City Council agenda, and I call to order the Midwest City Municipal Authority. We do have a consent agenda attached to this agenda, and these items are placed on the consent agenda. Trustees, by unanimous consent, can approve routine agenda items by one motion. If any trustee requests to discuss an item or a unanimous consent is not received, that's new language, isn't it?
Yeah, it is new language.
Then the items will be removed and heard in regular order. Oh. All right. Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes,
Opposed?
I put pull.
Abstention,
if
motion
she's
carries.
present. She
We
wasn't
now
supposed
move
to be
into
here.
new business public discussion of the Midwest City Municipal Authority. Does anyone have anything to bring before the authority? Hearing or seeing none, we are hereby adjourned, and I call to order the Midwest City Hospital Authority. Again, we have a consent agenda attached to this agenda. These items are placed on consent agenda, so trustees, by unanimous consent, can approve routine agenda items by one motion. If any trustee or request to discuss an item or unanimous consent is not received, then the item or items will be removed and heard in regular order. Chair to entertain a motion. I've got a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. We have a discussion item, Mr. Lyons.
No action necessary.
No action needed on the discussion item. We'll move to new business public discussion. Does anyone have anything to bring before the authority? Hearing or seeing none, we are hereby adjourned. And I call to order the Economic Development Commission. We do have a consent agenda, and these consent agendas these items are placed on consent agendas. Commissioners, by unanimous consent, can approve routine agenda items by one motion. If any commissioner requests to discuss an item, or if unanimous consent is not received, then the item or items will be discussed or removed and heard in regular order. Chair to entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I ask that we pull number 3.
Number 3.
Yep.
We have the chamber.
Chamber presidents here.
Yeah.
Just,
We need to go ahead and vote on the others, and then we'll have to call this item. I'll have to read it.
Okay, we have a request to pull item 3. I need a motion to approve the other two items. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Discussion item number 3, Mr. Lyon.
Review of the Midwest City Chamber of Commerce Activity Report for the period of ending March 31st, 2021. No action is necessary. This item is presented for information discussion purposes.
Ms. Jarrett, the floor is yours.
Good evening. First, congratulations. Welcome to the new members. Be careful what you ask for. You may get it. So glad to have you on the team. So it's been a busy time, as you can imagine, with a lot of leadership classes. That's been a main thrust through that, and Megan's been in the middle of all of those. Very excited about our class who graduated today, and opportunities for future leadership in Midwest City on your boards and commissions, on different volunteer boards around the community. We have that list. You are welcome to it. We'll be glad to share that with you to talk to those folks and see if they'd like to fill those spots. So, of course, big news that the Navy Ball returning to the Reed Center on October 13th. Very excited about that, thanks to Mike Klober and his hard work. And then there's another event that we are going after that we hope to have here as well. And I do hope there's good news on that Tourism and Recreation Department grant that we submitted a letter of support for. I don't know if you've heard about that, but I sure hope that moves forward and you do get that. Of course, the candidates forum, Mother Nature kind of gave us a challenge, but we got it worked in, and I was thrilled at the attendance. So glad you all could be there, and really glad to have that on Facebook and people could watch that at their leisure. We'll be doing more of that, so that makes those things more accessible to the public. So we're working toward that. We were honored and delighted to create and provide flyers to Gail Fry in support of the Friends of the Golf Course beautification. I hope that continues to move forward. And so that's be excited about that, and then working on the leadership conference. Of course, our class members started, and you've met Dylan. We do have new domain names, so it's a little less confusing with the city, because it was MidwestCityOK.com, MidwestCityOK.org. So now it's MidwestCityChamber.com and MidwestCityOK.org. So we'll have less confusion there on domain names, and so all of our emails have changed to help with that. Of course, we're still on the same team, but this is just to break up a little of the confusion there. And then, of course, we celebrated 75th anniversary, just hard to imagine that. And of course, updated our security system. You all know some of the issues we've had over at the chamber, but we now have installed panic buttons as well as panic pendants as we move around the building. And we appreciate, I'm sorry, what? You can wear it, you can put it in your pocket. Right, say if we're going out to the dumpster or, you know, something, you've still got it with you, so you can use it. Yes, they come in very handy. And of course, I wanted to give you all also an update on Tinker and the Primes, that of the 49 prepaid booths from last year, 43 have selected their booths. We will, of course, have a waiting list, and we'll sell out on space. We have a new Prime member. That means someone who went from 2,500 to 5,000 because of the new layout this year and the flexibility in that layout. They were thrilled. And we expect to be sold out on all the sponsorships by May 6th. And we'll be working very closely this year looking at attendance and registration because of that 1,200 limit on the fire code. We were really, it's in high demand this year to attend. So we'll be watching that carefully and look forward to having the mayor as part of our welcome on Tuesday morning to Tinker and the Primes. And involving you, we'll let you know about some receptions that you'll be invited to as we get closer to those dates in August. So glad to answer any questions. Oh, and we'll be working with Paul Streets as we get ready for Earth Day next year and do more of a citywide cleanup effort using some resources that are out there for all of us. So I'm looking forward to working on that for next year.
Tim, I'm not sure if you want to address it or Marcy, but she went over it pretty quick about what Gail Fry's been doing. If one of you would tell what's going on with that.
Vaughn, why don't you come up and do that? He's much closer to that work that she's doing.
Thank you, Mr. Lyon, and for the question, Mr. Byrne. Gail Fry, former First Lady of this city, who's very passionate about not only the beauty of this city, but John Conrad Golf Course. And her husband is an avid golfer and a regular player there at John Conrad, Jack Fry, former senator as well. She just took it upon herself, took the initiative to raise money to beautify the entrance at John Conrad Golf Course around the gate there on Douglas. And she came to me, we talked, I talked to Tim, and we said, go for it. Let's go for it. We'll provide a place to deposit the money and a place to appropriate it. And she went for it. and I think she's around 28,000 as of today. Her goal is 30. We went ahead and started work this week. They're beautiful. They're doing some repairs to the brick wall in preparation for paint, and it had some freeze thaw damage. And once the wall is painted and ready to go, Mr. Strayhorn will start the installation of the plant material. He has a very beautiful design. I have it up in my office. If any of you'd like to ever see it, I can also email it to you. So, very exciting.
Thanks for helping.
Anytime you see Gail Fry,
we
just
need
give
to
her a
thank
pat
Gail
on the
Fry.
back. It was amazing.
We'll bring her before this bunch.
Yeah, we need to do we need to.
It is exciting. Well, I'm
And
just one of
donating.
those
The
folks,
chamber
never,
donated money.
never underestimate the power of curb appeal. And beautification is not fluff. It is economic development. And that is a major thoroughfare. I put Gail in connection with Keep Oklahoma Beautiful and other places that have some grant opportunities to just continue layering in that landscaping, because that can change, has a ripple effect in neighborhoods and down the streets. So I'm hoping, looking forward to that having a ripple effect, and God bless Gail for her effort, and anything we can do to help with that throughout the city, we're glad to do it. And thank you for your work on the golf course as well.
And it doesn't just affect the golf course, because that's right on the trail where
Exactly,
people
yes.
walk.
Yes, yes. So, thank you for, and you know where to reach me if you have any questions.
Thank you, Ms.
Thanks,
Jarrett.
Marcy.
Appreciate it.
No action needed.
No action needed. We now move into new business public discussion of this agenda. Does anyone have any more things to bring before the commission? Hearing or seeing none, we are hereby adjourned, and I need a motion to reconvene on the council agenda. All in favor? I also need a motion to move into executive session. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, we now are in